Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. To everybody on the live stream for a later time, Shabbat Shalom. Well, hopefully the videos got loaded last night for all of you guys. It's taking us a little longer than anticipated, so be patient, but before the next day we should have all of the videos up, barring internet doesn't go down on us. All right. Almost forgot to start my time. Okay, so since it's after lunch, hopefully I can keep you guys awake with my message. So I'll give you the title up front so you'll know what I'm talking about and not guessing. But the title of this study or this message is called Doubt. Doubt.
I doubt that.
I doubt that seriously. And the reason why I called this message Doubt is because I could ask a couple of questions from the group, and we will probably get a resounding no. But if I ask anyone here, do you doubt the word of Yahweh? Everybody would say,
No.
Never. Exactly, emphatically, no, absolutely not. His word is true, his word is life, and we rely on his word.
If I did, I wouldn't be here.
If you doubted his word, you would not be
I
here.
can speak for I'm speaking just for me, but
Yes. And so, a resounding, I do not doubt Yahweh's word. I will not doubt Yahweh's word. Doubting Yahweh's word is not something that is a part of my character. But what I want to point out here, doubt comes in many different forms. Doubt comes in many different levels. Doubt can creep in the smallest ways. And so that's when I ask myself, can I be confident, 100% confident, that there is no way that I have doubted anything that Yahweh has said? Sort of the same question, but in a little bit different form. The first one is, do you doubt Yahweh's word? Emphatic, no. The next one is, have I done anything, said anything that would be perceived that I doubt Yahweh's word? Now that question makes you think just a little bit, right? You can't just wholeheartedly say, absolutely not. I have not done anything in my life ever, words, deeds, action, or even thoughts that have doubted Yahweh's word. Now, if you can't say that, Yahweh bless. I'm not talking to you. But for people like myself, I have to examine myself first before I can make that solidified statement that no, I have not done that thing. And so that's what this message is about. Because we always talk about belief. Belief is something that, belief and faith, we hold true to that. That is something that we ring and sound from the mountaintops. Belief and faith, faith and belief. But very seldom do we talk about doubt and the various forms of doubt that can creep in. So obviously, in order for us to talk about this message, we have to define the word doubt. And so first, to define the word doubt, Webster says, doubt is to call into question the truth. To call into question the truth. Now that sounds a little ominous, right? If it's true, why would you be questioning it? If it is certified the truth, fact, why would you question it?
it could be something we hadn't heard before.
Yeah, it could be something you haven't heard before. Not familiar with it. But in my mind, I'm like, truth is truth. I don't know. Maybe it's something that you don't believe to be true. And that's a whole different subject. I'm not going to talk about that today. Another definition of doubt is to be uncertain. Now that sounds more familiar. Doubt, I'm not certain about that. I need to dig a little deeper. I need to know more about it before I make a decision or determination. The third definition of doubt is to lack confidence in a certain thing. I just don't feel comfortable or confident that what's being said or done is fact or is true. So all of these things point to what I like, and this is like another definition that I found. Doubt is an uncertainty of belief or opinion that often interferes with decision making. I'll say that again. Tom, you like that one? I like that one too.
Yes, it's great. Oh, man.
Uncertainty of belief or opinion that often interferes with decision making. Because if you doubt something, you're going to make one choice. But if you are fully confident and certain of a thing, you're going to make another choice. The right choice, the true choice. So doubt can cause you to stumble or fall. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So the reason this came up is we've been studying Matthew in our studies, and let's turn to Matthew 14:24. We've been studying Matthew, we're going through it, and we're doing a deep dive in Matthew. And Johannes mentioned it yesterday. We just came across when Peter was trying to walk on water. And that kind of sparked this particular message. Matthew 14:24. We'll turn there. We're going to read a few verses here. I don't have my glasses. These are not the right ones. That's all right. I'll fumble through it. If you see a gray.
I look like.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. The moment I start reading, then I notice I don't have my glasses. All right, Matthew 14:24. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch, 3 a.m. of the night, Yeshua went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. But straightway Yeshua spoke unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Master, if it be thou, bid me to come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go unto Yeshua. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid and began to sink. And he cried, saying, Master, save me. And immediately Yeshua stretched forth his hand and came and caught him and said unto him, O thou little faith, wherefore dost thou doubt? Now, most of the time when we read this, I made the comment actually when we were going through this, that Peter took his eye off of Messiah. And that's why he started to sink. That can be true as well. Or we also mentioned that Peter was afraid of the waves, and that's why he began to sink. Fear and taking your eyes off Messiah. But Yeshua gives me the answer if I just keep reading. Yeshua points to his faith and his doubt in that faith. That he can actually do the thing that he was already doing, walking on water. Has there been a case or any other situation to where you are actually doing something and you doubt yourself even though you are doing that thing? And it seems like, oh man, if I was to think about this, not doing it, it would just seem like it's impossible to me. For me, everybody here is a testament to where you could say, I can't believe this thing. I can't believe how I got here. I can't believe the walk that it took for me to get here. But you're actually doing the thing. You're walking the walk. You're here celebrating Feast of Tabernacles. You're living his word. You're following everything he's commanded you to do. Some of us 10, 15, 20, 57 years ago, we couldn't fathom this. We couldn't believe that it was possible. But we're doing it. And that calls to question, do we doubt? At any point, do you doubt what Yahweh can do for you? Do we doubt that all things are possible through him that strengthens us? So where I'm going with this is, even though we may be walking through water in life, sometimes we say to ourselves, I can't believe that I'm doing this. If I do something that's amazing, in my mind, there's a little voice that's telling me, I can't believe that I'm doing this. This is amazing. But is that right? Is that the right thing to say or to think or position to have when I'm trying to walk in the path of Yeshua? It has become acceptable to doubt everything in this world. Even when we see it with our own eyes, even we can touch it, we can prove it, we know it's a fact. The world has taught us to doubt it. It's fake news. That's not real. That person is lying to you. But I saw it. Nah, you didn't see what you actually saw. You were imagining. It was a dream. Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes when I'm like building on my bus and I'm using my power tools and my saw and my drill and my things and something goes together like perfect and it's amazing and I do say, that's amazing, thank you, Yeshua, or thank you, Yahweh, for giving me the skill or giving me, I'm thankful in a way, but it's amazing, I'm in awe of him because he made that possible, because without him I can do nothing.
Yep.
And so, I mean,
You're doing something you never thought you could do.
right.
And you don't doubt it. You don't question it, more so.
Sometimes I'm in the process, yeah, because I don't know that I can do it, but when it is done and it's amazing, I'm thankful for that. I'm not giving myself things, my own understanding, giving myself credit, but I'm thanking him for allowing that to happen.
Yes. Praise him. So one of the stories that come to mind is we've heard stories of, mothers doing incredible feats when their children are in harm's way, like lifting up cards and something like that. And then when somebody asked them, well, what happened? What did you see? Well, I saw this lady pick up a car because her child was under it. Did you really? Is that what you saw? Well, maybe I didn't see that. Maybe the car was just kind of like teetering and she just pushed it in and moved over. Literally letting the world doubt what you've seen and can prove as a fact with your own eyes. And a lot of times that's what happens with the word. You will know something is true. You will know something without a doubt. You've read it, the set-apart spirit has given it to you, but the moment somebody asks you, you tell them, they make you question whether what has been proven to you as fact is actually real or not. Whether that scripture that you read, Yahweh gave you the understanding of it, because they have a different understanding or they just want to disprove you and be right. Do we have that doubt that creeps in that we don't know what we're talking about because someone else has a different opinion? Like I said, doubt comes in many different forms. And when we truly look and analyze and examine how doubt can creep into our life, then we have to reevaluate our answer in, do I doubt the word? Do I doubt truth? Let's turn to Matthew 21:21. Matthew 21:21. And if you guys know me, I don't have any new scriptures that we haven't already read. So we're going to read the ones we know to solidify what it says and the point that I'm trying to give today. Matthew 21:21. Yahshua answered and said unto them, verily I say unto you, if ye have faith and doubt not, ye shall not only do this which is done to the fig tree, but also ye shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, be thou cast into the sea, and it shall be done. And all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive. How many times have we read these words? How many times have we went over Yeshua saying that if you say to a mountain, be removed, it will cast itself into the sea if we believe and have faith without doubt? Who doubts this verse? Is there anybody here willing to say, I doubt that we can speak to a mountain and it will move? I I don't want anybody to answer, just FYI. But this is how deep it goes. Because we say we don't doubt the word. But there are things we will read in Scripture, and even if we saw it, we would say, I cannot believe I just saw that. Yes, Kathy.
So I don't know if it's the word we doubt or our ability and our faith to execute it, and it actually, it actually happens. So
Yeah.
I believe that this word says that, but do I have the faith and the ability to move that mountain?
That's a whole nother question, right?
Yeah, that's where I think it is. If the word we know is true,
Yes.
our faith and our ability to execute it is something completely
Yes.
different.
Thanks for that clarification, Kathy. Because it's like a stepping stone. When I ask the question, do you believe the word is true? Everybody's yes, absolutely. But that's just the first step. The next step is believing that what it said can be accomplished by you. And then when it's accomplished by you, believing that you can and continue to do a thing without doubting it, without questioning yourself, without even thinking, I can't believe that I just did that. I can't believe I know that. I can't believe Yahweh's revealed this to me. I can't believe I'm considered to be a son and a daughter of the Most High. That word, that phrase, I can't believe, is a common thing that a lot of people use. Well, I don't want to say a lot of people. But it can be attributed to, we don't think about the words that we use, and we don't think that those words have any impact on us. But the moment you say, I can't believe that that happened, which is a common phrase, how much have we diminished the spirit that's within us? Yes.
You know, brother, we hear today an imprecision of a term when people are really trying to say, well, that is wonderful or amazing or that's remarkable. What's the common parlance? Well, that's incredible. In other words, that's not to be believed. And it's so common in our vocabulary rather than saying, okay, that's credible. That is something that can be rightfully believed. It's been turned backwards, I submit to you. And I kind of put in my own act as I go along here in terms of using the precise, proper definition of words. Most importantly, the definitions of the words that are already in the scriptures.
Thank you, Tom. And that's the point I'm trying to hit home is everything's been turned upside down. The adversary is turning good to bad and bad to good. We cannot allow him to convince everyone to give up our power and faith by subtle and idle thoughts. I'll just say that. If you've never said, I can't believe that, how many times have you thought it? If you read something in scripture and you're like, just a hint of doubt that that could be true, or it might be an exaggeration, I think that's probably the most common one. Things in the Old Testament are exaggerations. There's stories that have been passed on for years and years, and it just got bigger and bigger. It's like the story about the fish that the fisherman caught. It just gets bigger and bigger every time you tell it. That is a form of doubt. And that can creep in. And just like Kathy said, it might creep in at the critical moment where you need all the faith you can to move a mountain. But the slightest doubt won't let that happen.
I have a question.
Yes, Annie.
Could that mountain not necessarily, but maybe it's a spiritual mountain instead of a physical mountain?
Thank you for the question, Ann. If you guys didn't hear it, could Yeshua be referring to a spiritual mountain instead of a physical mountain? Anybody want to take that before I jump on that one? Robert wanted to take it first.
Well, it could be a spiritual mountain, but if it served Yahweh's purpose to move a physical mountain, and you mentioned the power of faith.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, Yahshua the Messiah didn't come to do his will, but to do the will of the Father. He accomplished moving a great mountain called sin. And so in effect, it could be a spiritual mountain, but if it was to serve Yahweh's purpose, remember, Moses, the sea was parted for Yahweh's purpose. The sun stood still for Yahweh's purpose. All kinds of things were done, but it was for Yahweh's purpose and not for a display of a person's faith or and trust on Yahweh, but it was for Yahweh's purpose these things were done.
Right.
So you could say a spiritual mountain, indeed, because each of us have mountains in our lives that we've had to overcome, and maybe even some still that we're working on. But, but if it served Yahweh's purpose to have an effect on something physical, then Yahweh's will be done. But it requires to believe that Yahweh will do it.
Yeah.
So, even Joshua prayed for Lazarus, resurrection. But everything he did was because he was doing what Yahweh told him, or was sent him to do.
Larry, if you'll come get the mic. Yeah, if you come get the mic, Larry. I can hear you.
So we can think about a spiritual mountain, okay? And the word often used is hyperbole, okay?
Could you say that one more time?
Hyperbole.
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 Yeah.
Thank you. You gotta excuse me, I'm from Texas, so
Yeah.
I have a problem situating words properly. So it's an exaggerated statement or claims not meant to be taken literally.
Okay.
And so this could be what Yeshua was talking about, meaning that, yeah, with great faith, you could move a mountain-like object, whatever it is. Maybe you're trying to remove sin out of your life. Maybe you're trying to give up a practice that Yahweh would not approve of. These are mountain-like objects. But let us never forget about Noah. For 120 years, what did he do? He built an ark, cut down trees, massive trees, and worked all those years to build that mountain-like object. So it could be literally, it could be figuratively. It depends on how Yahweh is working with us individually.
Right. Yep.
Also in the Bible, one of the definitions or mountain is government. Governments. And so, if we're faithful, then we will remember, the adversary wanted to step on that mountain because it represented government. And so,
Yeah, the mountain that comes down and
right.
that
It's
wasn't
the government
carved
of
out by
Yahweh,
hand.
the mountain of Yahweh.
Yeshua's government.
Right, so that term could also apply to governments, Joshua's rule.
Yeah, and I think this clear distinction we have to also make here is, are we referring to a vision or a dream, or referring to something that happened in real life? But I'll respond after you. Wendy, go ahead.
Two, if you think about it, a mountain is the biggest thing on the earth. There's really, I don't think anything bigger
Yep.
than a mountain.
Yep.
And so maybe that's just on the grand scale.
Yep. All right, again, all right, so who?
Okay, I thought is this a spiritual role, invisible, visible, any kind of mountain? The answer is on the 22.
The answer is in verse 22.
Yes.
And all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive. So, yeah, that's where I was going in my response. That's what I like when you guys already give it to me. I don't have to say it. But my response, and to just give you, I like everybody else to give their response before I give mine. I believe it's a mountain. I believe if you have the faith and the belief strong enough that you can move a mountain. Because in context, he had just made the fig tree wither. So he gave them example of what faith can do.
There you go.
And I think I would rely on Yeshua knowing how much our faith can actually move and manipulate this world, which we are just visitors. Who knows what we will be when we are changed to be like him? And who knows what we will be capable of doing when we're changed to be like him? So my job would be, how do I get there? And it's through faith and belief. Yes, Amy.
I would determine if a mountain that would be rush hour traffic.
Move rush hour traffic. Yes, just part it. That would be nice.
Party like the rest.
Right, that would be nice. All right, great comment. So, circling back, in today's society, no one really believes what's right in front of their face anymore. They can see it, and somebody can convince them that they didn't see what they actually saw. We should not allow anybody to convince us what our belief is not what it is. Our belief is not what it is. By convincing us that it actually means this, or it actually says this, or this isn't, your interpretation is wrong, and this is what it actually is. Especially when we know that the set apart Spirit has guided us into the knowledge and wisdom that we have retained. The world has been lied to so much that we are forced to doubt even things that we know to be true. The adversary has used the world to lie about everything. But we can't let how the world operates seep into our belief and our understanding. Let's turn to Mark 9, verse 23. Mark 9, verse 23. And we all know this verse, but I'm just going to read it because it needs to be said. Mark 9, verse 23, 2 verses here. Mark 9:23 says, Joshua said unto him, if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. And this is, he was saying this to the man that asked him to save his child, his son. And the man said back to him, and he said, and straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Master, I believe. Help thou mine unbelief. He believed, but he still had doubt, struggling. Luckily, in this situation, his doubt didn't prevent his child from being saved. However, we're going to get into some situations where your doubt might cause something that you really don't want to happen. We believe, we wholeheartedly believe. When I asked that question, do you believe that Yahweh's word is true? Everybody said yes, because we believe. But there might be still situations where we need help in our disbelief or our unbelief. Yes?
To double back on this subject of doubt, moving mountains, brethren, astounding prophecy for the kingdom of Elohim during the reign of Messiah in Isaiah 41. It says clearly in verse 13, for I, Yahweh, your Elohim, will hold your right hand, saying to you, do not be afraid, I will help you. Verse 14 of Isaiah 41. Do not be afraid, you worm Jacob. He's not being called Israel here. He's been spoken of as a worm, because we are like a worm that's going to end up in pictures of resurrection and a caterpillar, rather becoming a butterfly. But that's just what I was told by the Spirit. Maybe it doesn't register with you. And you men of Israel, I will help you, says Yahweh, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. Verse 15 of Isaiah 41. Behold, I will make for you a new threshing instrument having teeth, and you shall thresh the mountains, and beat them small, and make the hills as chaff. And you shall fan them, and the wind shall carry them away, and the whirlwind shall scatter them. And you shall rejoice in Yahweh. You shall glory in the Holy One of Israel. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. What verse was it again? Chapter, verse?
41, yes. Isaiah 41 starting in 13 through...
Isaiah 41.
13 through 16.
13 through 16. Okay. All right. So yes, we believe. All of us believe. Everybody in this room believes. If you didn't believe, you wouldn't be on this path. All of us are not perfect. And therefore, some doubt might creep in. But I don't want us to be in a position or a situation to where we totally ignore and don't even acknowledge or realize the slight doubt that could be there. Because if you don't know a thing is there, you can't address a thing. And if it's totally ignored, you will be caught off guard. Because the adversary is lying wait just to catch us off guard. He's designed the entire world to doubt everything that happens. Everything's fake news, like I said. The devil doesn't exist. The Bible is fiction. I know a real quick story. I used to work with a guy. He said when he was in high school, they would take all of the Bibles in the library and put them in the fiction section. And he thought it was funny. The world does not believe. We believe. But we have to believe to the point to where there is no doubt anywhere in our being, in our fiber. So the question that I ask, or you might be asking me right now, why is it so detrimental to us if we do not believe? Why is it so, you're talking about this, David, why is it so important? Well, the first thing that I wanted to point out, let's go to Deuteronomy 28:64. See if Curtis knows where I'm going before I get there.
Going where was it?
Deuteronomy 28:64.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
There you go, I knew it. Why is doubt such a big thing? Why am I talking about it? Well, the first thing is because, did you know that doubt is a sign of the curse of disbelief, of disobedience?
That's where it all began.
Let's read it, and then we're going to talk about
It starts there and it ends there.
it. Deuteronomy 28:64.
Cycle.
And this is a part of the curses towards the end. And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other elves, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the soles of your feet have rest. But Yahweh shall give thee there a trembling heart, and a failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. And I'll stop there. Now we know that the curses of disobedience don't apply to us because we are trying our best to be obedient to his word, his commandment, his statutes, his judgment, and all that he says for us to do. Well, if we're doing that, why would we act as if we are a part of the curses? By having doubt, or fear, or a failing heart, or trembling heart, or any of these things. And I'll reread it: a trembling heart, a failing of eyes, a sorrow of mind, fearing day and night, having no assurance in our life, whether we will live or whether we will die. Yes, Curtis.
Well, it's like Bob says all the time, perfect fear casts out love.
Perfect fear casts out love. Because there had to be a contrast to perfect love, casting out fear, right?
First Timothy, second.
What verse is that?
That's
First
something
John.
Bob says all the time, but it's
Reverse.
Oh, he hasn't given
Yeah,
us the
he's
spirit.
giving us the contracts of that.
a constant, yes.
So yes, so if we know that doubt is a curse or part of the curses, why are we acting like we are a part of the curse? Well, we are definitely not a part of the curse if we're doing what Yahweh told us to do. Believing in him, believing that all things are possible, having faith without doubt. If you have if you are obedient to his word, you have total confidence in your belief. Not only that he's going to do what he says, but your belief in him and your faith are assured if you are obedient. So do not doubt it. But if you are not totally obedient, you should have doubt. You should be doubtful in faith because you know you're doing something wrong. I liken it to little kids, right? You know, you walk up to a little kid and you say, hey, did you do that? And they actually did it, what are they gonna do? They know they're doing something wrong. They know that there's doubt there. But if you didn't do it, and or a kid didn't do it, and you ask that kid, did you do that? Somebody else did. Okay, you didn't do it. Yes.
May I shed a little light on what I credited with Bob saying?
Sure, go
All right,
ahead.
take a moment. Turn to Matthew 24, please.
Matthew 24. You want to read it or you want me to read it?
I'll read it.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna pick it up in, I'll pick it up in verse 9, read a couple verses. I'm gonna pick it up in verse 9, Matthew 24.
24:9.
24:9.
Matthew 24:9.
And that was lived in the tribulation and kill you, you be hated by all nations for my name's sake. Verse 10. And many will be offended, and they will betray another, and will hate one another. Fall from, rise up to see many. Verse 12, this is the key, verse 12. Because of lawlessness abounding, or lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold.
The love of many will grow cold.
They'll become afraid of what they see here.
That could be
The
true,
love of
yes.
many will become cold.
That's another interpretation of it. Yes. They will be afraid of what they see and know that is
The
true.
love of many will grow cold, and like Bob says, it fits perfect in this context.
Yeah.
When it comes full cycle.
So another one of the, I guess, examples that I would give, and in regards to doubt, and and our relationship with the Father. When I was a little kid, I would always ask my mom or my sister, "Hey, take me to the mall. Will you guys take me to the mall? Drop me off at the mall. My friends are at the mall. Take me to the mall." And my mom, she would be like, "Yeah, okay, I'll take you." And what would I do? Until we got in that car. "Are you going to take me? Are you going to take me? Are we going now? Are you ready to take me now? You ready to take me now?" As a kid, what was I doing? I was doubting that she was going to take me when she clearly said, "Yes, I would take you." Now, we don't think about that stuff. Number one, kids are impatient by nature. But do we do our Father the same way? Are there things that you prayed for and asked for from the Father? Are there things that you know that He will provide for you? But you're the little impatient kid. Are you going to do it now? Are you going to do it now? Are you going to do it now? What about now? When He clearly says in these words that He will. All things are possible. There's nothing He will not give to His child if you ask for it in Yeshua's name. So why do we doubt by constantly asking and thinking that He's not going to do it? Yes, Amy.
I also think that it's on his time frame, because we may not be ready. We are wanting it now, but are we able to handle it? So we have to have enough faith. Maybe he's not answering it at that particular time. That doesn't mean a year down the road or 6 months down the road he's answering. You see why he didn't answer it 6 or 7 months ago, because
Yes.
there were other obstacles and things that were presenting it from happening. But he will, and we're talking, I think it's in, is it in Matthew where it says you keep knocking and knocking and praying? It was the lady that went to the judge and kept knocking and knocking till she just drove her crazy.
Oh, yes. Yes, the lady was like trying to get him to judge on it. It's like, just give her what you want so she can stop bothering.
Right, but it has to be on his time frame, it's not on our time frame.
Yes. That is like the perfect description of what I was trying to relay. What I'm trying to say is doubt has many different forms. Being impatient is one of those. Has anybody in this room ever been impatient? So hands are starting to go up now. When I first started this, nobody was like, "No, I do it right. I'm right all the time." I believe, there's no doubt. Are you impatient? Again, unless we know, we can't correct. Unless we acknowledge and can identify, we can't solve the things that we need to work on in our life to ensure our salvation through Yeshua Messiah. I had a lot of hands. Neil's first, Wendy, and then Raquel.
He does that to test our character, to see if we'll be obedient. 2 Corinthians
2 Corinthians
2:9,
2:9.
or 2:8 or 2:9.
2 Corinthians 2:8 or 2:9. What was that? Let's go there. I got some time. If I can find it in this book.
9.
2 Corinthians 2:9. All right, Curtis can find it. All right. 2 Corinthians 2:9. For to the end also did I write, that I might know the proof of you, whether ye be obedient in all things, to whom ye forgive anything, I forgive also. For if I forgive anything to whom I forgave it, for your sake forgave I it in the person of Messiah. So I think we're just 1 and 9 on that, right? Okay. For to the end also did I write, that I might know that the proof of you, whether ye be obedient in all things. I can read better without these glasses.
He'll keep testing you till he knows you're obedient.
Yes, he will keep testing you, putting you in situations so that you can actually pass. Wendy?
I just discovered it during your talk that part of where I'm trying to overcome doubt is in self-pity. Being tempted to be praying and it not happening. So impatience being followed up by self-pity.
Thinking that it's not happening now, so it's not going to happen. Yeah. Patience is one of those sneaky little things that we have to work on. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, is it doubt if you have a backup plan?
Is it doubt if you have a backup plan?
Yeah, because at work, I'm asked to have a backup plan and a backup plan,
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 backup plans. Is it doubt if you, I guess apply that in your personal life?
Yes. Answer. The easy answer is yes. If you want to take it in matters in your own hand because it's not happening in the timeline you want, that's actually the next level from being impatient. I'm just going to do it myself.
That's what Sarah did, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of, no, we're going to go there next. We're going to go there next. Let's turn to Hebrews 11:6 first. Hebrews 11, verse 6. Hebrews 11, verse 6. So, one of those things of, just having, blatantly doubting the word of Yahweh, or, not wholeheartedly believing everything that it says because you're making excuses, or you let the world make excuses for what's in Scripture, causing doubt, being impatient and not believing what Yahweh said. How is that a bad thing? Well, Hebrews 11:6, and we're just one verse here, says, but without faith it is impossible to please him. So if you are doubting things, you're not pleasing Yahweh. He goes on to say, for he that cometh to Elohim must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. You have to believe without question that regardless, he will reward you if you come to him in faith and in truth and in Yeshua's Messiah's name. Now think back, as I was a kid and, me asking my mom over and over and over again, are we ready? Are we leaving? Are you going to take me? I don't think that made her happy in any way. It kind of frustrated her. It just truly means that I doubted the words that she said. And that's my mom. She's gonna love me regardless. She's just gonna be like, you're frustrating and bugging me. She might just turn around and say, you ask me one more time, I'm not taking you nowhere. I've heard that many times. And we definitely don't want Yahweh to say that to us. Keep asking me, I'm not taking you anywhere. But it's the same for Yahweh. It's impossible to please Yahweh if you don't believe, if you have doubt, if you have the slightest doubt that he will do what he says he's going to do. So I want to switch gears here right now. Let's look at a couple of examples of doubt and the outcome of doubt. Because with doubt comes consequences in most cases. And we're going to look at two witnesses. We will establish the thing. Let's go to Luke 1, verse 5. And again, you all know these stories, so this is not anything you haven't heard, I do want to point out. Doubt has consequences. It's not like you're just going to doubt Yahweh and nothing's going to happen. Luke 1, verse 5, and this is the story of Zacharias and his wife, Elizabeth, John's parents. Luke 1, verse 5, there was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, this is Herod the Great, a certain priest named Zacharias of the course of Abiah, and his wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. And they were both righteous before Elohim, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of Yahweh blameless. And I want to stop there. You think that Yahweh looked favorable on them?
Sounds like.
I mean, that's powerful. They walked blameless before Yahweh, righteous in his eyes, following all the commandments and ordinances. Well, we know what's going to happen. Well, I'll wait and I'll make my comments on that. But we know that they are just. They are walking the path unwavering. And verse 7 goes on to say, and they had no child because that Elizabeth was barren, and they both were now well stricken in years. And it came to pass that while he executed the priest's office before Elohim in the order of his course, according to the custom of the priest's office, his lot was to burn incense when he went into the temple of Yahweh. And the whole multitude of the people were praying without at the time of the incense. And there appeared unto him an angel of Yahweh standing on the right side of the altar of incense. And when Zacharias saw him, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him. But the angel said unto him, fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayers is heard. Now, we assume that he prayed for a child. And being stricken in age, he had to have a lot of patience for that child, just from what we read so far. And he had passed that test, being patient. He was righteous, prayed for a child, for him and his wife, and was patient. He's on the fourth step. But let's not get to the fourth step and fall back down the stairs. All right, let's go on. And thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice in his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of Yahweh, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink, and he shall be filled with the set-apart spirit, even from his mother's womb. And many of the children of Israel shall he turn to Yahweh their Elohim. And he shall go before him in the spirit of power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for Yahweh. And we would hope Zacharias would turn around and say, praise Yah, I believe. But we know this story, and in verse 18, what does he do? And Zacharias said unto the angel, whereby shall I know this? For I am an old man, and my wife well stricken in years. Doubt. Thank you. Doubt. And not just, I don't believe you doubt, or I can't believe this is gonna happen. Just slight words,
Reasons why it won't happen.
reasons why I can't believe, yeah, I guess it is, I can't believe this because we're too old type of phrases.
But he was praying for God who Yahweh was.
Like I said, he made it to the fourth step. Righteous, prayed for it, and had patience. But when it actually came, I can't believe this. You guys see where I'm going now. And the angel answered and said unto him, I am Gabriel that stands in the presence of Elohim, and am sent to speak unto thee and show thee the glad tidings. This is someone that is standing in the presence of Yahweh, and to deliver a message of your prayers are finally answered. You waited so long for it, and the first thing that came out of his mouth was doubt. We definitely can't be in this situation. But this is what the adversary wants you to do, especially when things come to you that you know seem to be impossible, or you think that cannot happen, and you can't believe it. Your first thought cannot be doubt. It just can't. Because what happened to him when it, verse 20, and behold, thou shalt be dumb and not able to speak until the day that these things shall be performed, because thou believest not my words, which shall be fulfilled in their season. Now, the good thing with Yahweh, he is not going to punish you and take away what he has decreed for you, what he has declared for you. For there is consequences. Yes, they had a son, John. But you think Zechariah would prefer to have been able to talk and see up until the birth and not have to wait until after his son was born? The slightest doubt, and this is the verbal doubt, can cause you hardship before your blessing. How many times have you asked for something and then it seems like everything goes wrong, but then joy comes when that blessing comes? And it's almost like your life is a roller coaster. It's just up and down, up and down. It's like, why do I always have to go through hardship before I'm blessed? Yahweh, why do I always have to suffer before I receive the blessings that you have declared for me? Were you impatient? Did you doubt? Did you think he would not provide? Did you think that your prayers would not be answered? There are consequences to doubting Yahweh and what he will do for you.
One thing we need to be also aware of, how Yahweh sees doubt and how we see the two different things. And so he didn't even say, I don't believe you. He just said, how is this going to happen? Pretty much. Where he says, how shall I know this? So he didn't even say he didn't believe the angel, but the phraseology, because this word to believe, it's to be fully persuaded, to be confident, to trust in. So just because he couldn't see how it could be done, because what he say, me and my wife are old. So that's his thinking. Maybe he's thinking, well, we're going to adopt, we're going to find a child. You know, how is this going to happen? Because we're old. So in his mind, since we're past childbearing age, how's this going to take place? You know, and once again, did he not remember Abraham and Sarah? You know, it's just when things come into our lives, a lot of times we forget what Yahweh has already said. Mm-hmm. And thinking about the messages we've heard, you know, and Bob and Dennis both reminded us, so that we don't have that same mindset. You know, things that are going on around us, just because we don't see a solution doesn't mean there's a solution. There's not a solution. Just because we don't see a way out, all this stuff is happening, what's going to happen next? Well, Yahweh knows.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we don't know doesn't mean there's no way out. Just because we don't have a solution doesn't mean there's not a solution. We're the ones, because we're limited. But, you know, and I know David's going on, we have to be fully convinced and persuaded. That's what I mean, convinced and persuaded, and that we are going to put our complete trust and give Yahweh the credit. That's another thing. Yahweh's like, you didn't give me credit.
You didn't acknowledge that I am who I said I am, so that's why you're not gonna be able to speak for the next 10 months. And so we have to be able to say the same thing. We have to give credit to Yahweh. That's why I say we believe. We say here, David, that's the question, do we believe? We all believe that Yahweh created this earth. But then we start being scared about how we're gonna pay for stuff and are we gonna feed ourselves? We believe that the person, the one, not the person, that the one who created the world, we can't believe he can't feed us or keep us alive or give us health. Then we turn around and say, oh, he's gonna give us an eternal kingdom. So we believe he can give us the eternal kingdom, but he can't see to our everyday needs or whatever it is that we want. So.
Yes. And that's the trap. The trap is the slightest doubt.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, not a lot. Just asking the question. And I'm glad you clarified. He just asked the question of how. When his response should have been, praise Yah. I believe. And I'm not even thinking about the fact that it's an angel standing in front of you telling you this. We don't even believe when we see it with our own eyes. What in the world? Yes, Wendy.
I guess, part of my own doubt is, in Matthew, Yahweh tells us that, he will feed us and he will clothe us.
Right.
Mhm.
My fear is homelessness. He doesn't say he's gonna house me. So I'm like, and Satan will always throw that back, but he provides all.
Yeah, I'm glad you
All-
corrected that.
Yeah.
He provide all your needs.
All. He
Yeah.
knows I need shelter.
Yes.
Oh, we even asked.
Yes. Cool. Thank you for that. I saw somebody else raise their hand. No? Okay.
You like that, real quick, I was just gonna say, when we doubt, are we putting limits on y'all? Are we saying y'all is limits?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that
That-
dangerous?
That's another form, the doubt, putting limits on the ability and the capability of what, and I think we just read that, that's why I read that. But through faith, everything is possible. Nothing's impossible. He created everything that we actually exist in. And, Robert made the comments, if he wants the sun to stop, the sun will stop. If he wanted to flood the whole earth, which we know he's not gonna do again, he can do that. If he wants to burn a third of it, he can do that. But we read this and we believe that he can do those things, but yet when we pray and it doesn't happen, we start to have doubts. And I know, and I'm not gonna say I'm gonna speak for myself, some of the things I ask for, I think that are so insignificant to him that who am I for him to just stop and take notice of the prayer that I've sent up to him and to do that thing? But I can't think like that. He sees everything, he knows everything, nothing gets past him. And if he wants to bless me with something that I ask for, all I gotta do is sit back and wait and know that that thing is going to come. Yes?
Do you have Matthew 19:26?
Matthew 19:26, I do not. Matthew 19:26. Just one verse? Matthew 19, verse 26. Johan's bought me this new Bible and the pages stick like nobody's business. Okay, let me get to it. All right. Matthew chapter 19, verse 26. But Yeshua beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, but with Yahweh all things are possible. That's the verse I was looking for. Thank you. Yahweh, all things are possible. So if we can't conceive of a thing being possible, that's man, that's us. With him, everything he created is as his will, and he can do all things. So all right, let's turn to Genesis 18:9. And so while you guys are turning to Genesis 18:9, I'll just make the couple of comments that I had here. Number one, Zacharias is talking to an angel. He sees it, he can touch it, knows that it's real, and yet he still asks the question, how is this gonna happen? He was him and his wife were righteous and blameless before Yahweh. But yet, he still had questions instead of believing without doubt. And that doubt caused him a punishment of not being able to speak until his child was born. My point again, let's not let the slightest of doubt, especially in words, to actually cause you to have hardship before your blessing. Because we notice again, and I'll point this out, Yahweh still gave him the blessing of a child. He didn't hold that back from him, but he had to suffer the consequences of that doubt. Here's another person, my wife mentioned Sarah and her doubt. Let's go to Genesis 18:9, if you're already there. Genesis 18 verse 9 says, and they said unto him, this is after Abraham saw Yahweh and the two angels come in and met him and said, hey, come eat with us. And they said unto him, where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life, and lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah was old and well stricken in age. Funny how we have another situation. And it caused to be with Sarah after the manner of a woman. And it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of a woman. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself. She didn't say anything, she just laughed. Saying, after I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure in my master being old? Another question. We got to stop asking questions when blessings are being given. And Yahweh said unto Abraham, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I of a certainty bear a child with which am old? Is anything too hard for Yahweh? And I'll stop there. Is anything too hard for Yahweh? Is anything too hard for Yahweh? I'd like a little more enthusiasm about that. There you go. Thank you, Tom. Nothing's too hard for Yahweh. And the time appointed, I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Now, I'm going to ask Dennis on this one. A time according to life. Do we know how long it is? I was thinking it was 9 months. Then, when you're pregnant and have a child, 9 months. I don't know the true answer to that, but most things it's 9 months. Yeah. Huh? Longer?
It had to be longer because, remember, Ishmael was born in a median.
That's one
And he
more.
was 13 years older than
Yeah.
Isaac. So
that's where I'm going. Hold that
Oh,
thought. So hold that thought. Most think it was 9 months, but that can't be confirmed. Let's just say that. But let's talk about this whole scenario of when you doubt, there are consequences, right? And so let's keep reading. Verse 15. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laugh not. That wasn't good. For she was afraid. And he said, nay, but thou didst laugh. And I'll stop right there. So Abraham, definitely righteous. And his faith was accounted for his righteousness. He believed Yahweh. He believed that he would be a great nation, his descendants.
So what, go ahead.
Go ahead.
What's so encouraging is that the child's name ends up Yitzhak, being laughter. The last laugh was on that family of faith. But initially, even Abraham fell down and laughed when he, like Zechariah, considered his aging body. And yet he had to get straightened out over doubt.
Yes. So, the question that I asked, and I know Johannes was kind of going to give it up, but yes, Ishmael was born after how many years? 15 years after this, I think, was roughly 10 years after this. And then another 15 years after that, Isaac was born. My math might be off there. So in my mind, how I read this, and this is totally my opinion.
This man was born Genesis chapter 16. This man was already on the scene.
Excuse me, no.
Genesis
It's not
16,
in
16.
order.
It's not
Yeah.
order.
It's not in order.
That's how the order?
It's like a recap.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah,
So,
they were told,
so
and they had,
Genesis 18 Ishmael.
let me explain it, let me explain it. So I jumped in the middle of the story, but we're talking about, she was told she was gonna have a son, it didn't happen, and what did she do?
Laugh.
Fear.
No,
Oh,
she
went
took
out
it
there.
upon herself and asked him to have
Backup plan.
the backup plan, which we should not have, making it happen ourselves instead of letting Yahweh make it happen. So,
Patient.
yes.
Hagar.
So think about it this way, and this is, you know, basically how my opinion might be not correct, but it's my opinion. She was given a blessing. Yahweh told her of the blessing of the son that she would have in a certain amount of time, however long that would be. I don't imagine it was 25 years, but however long the actual life, time of a life, that's the time her son should have been born. However, her laughing and asking how she was going to have pleasure in her master in her old age, was that a form of doubt? I think so. And with doubt comes consequences. And with consequences, were those consequences her not having a son immediately? Now, Yahweh did not hold back her blessing, but she had to wait for it. And then she misstepped again through doubt and impatience and had her husband have a son because she thought that it wasn't going to happen. More doubt. So she had 3 strikes in this situation. But then she eventually had her son, which she did receive the blessing, but she had to wait a while. So just like laughing is a form of doubt, you know, saying that, hey, how is this going to happen is a form of doubt, being impatient and taking it upon yourself with a backup plan is a form of doubt. We cannot have these different variations and forms of doubt creep into our actual faith and how we walk.
Wasn't it 20 years? Wasn't she
It's
90?
25 years. So Abraham was 75 when the proclamation was made.
He was
Isaac,
100 when.
yeah,
he was
Isaac
born.
wasn't born until he was 100.
Yeah, and wasn't she 90, Sarah?
90,
Baby,
yeah.
Yeah, when you had the baby.
Because
Right.
they went into a town and she lied and said, this is my sister.
Yes. So my point is, we cannot let doubt creep into our lives, whatever form it might be. Let's turn to Romans 4:17, because I'm